Welcome to another session of Men of Honor. Today I want to tackle one of the most common questions that we keep on talking about, but we do nothing about it. And this is, why are black people not wealthy? Why is poverty, sickness, anything that is negative in society synonymous with black people? But before I answer that question, I think I will go to the other side of the spectrum and focus more on the richer races. Jews are considered to be the richest race in the whole world, irrespective of location. I will more or less localize it, and we focus on the South African scenario. Looking at Sandton, where I live, looking at the amount of wealth and who owns the wealth, you'll be mistaken to think that the whole place is full of Jewish people. But when I searched it, I was very surprised to find that we're averaging between 50 and 60,000 Jews in South Africa. There used to be 120,000, but because of whatever reasons, they've moved to other English-speaking countries. Now, if you look at that, only between 50 and 60,000 Jews, and if you go to Johannesburg Stock Exchange, JSE, 85% of the listed companies belong to Jews. Now, rather than us focusing and answering or asking the wrong questions, why are black people poor? I think it's better to look at why are Jewish families rich. I will take you through my understanding on how Jewish people become rich and what we need to copy and learn from them if we are going to get from this mess that we are in. If we're going to be respected by any other race, if we want to occupy the right place in society, we have to stop being beggars. We have to be producers. We have to claim our own. And then people have to invite us to their table as partners. Or if they do not invite us to their table, we create our own table where we invite them. But the unfortunate thing is most of us are constantly begging for a seat on other people's table and demanding where to sit on that table and how much of that table space that we have to occupy. That's nonsensical. It doesn't really work. So let's look at the Jewish business. This is our Jewish business ecosystem. This is interesting, how Jewish businesses work. I will simplify it. Here we've got a core business, banks, construction, services, and then here we have charity. Now, this is a core business, Jewish business. In South African scenario, maybe I'll say this is Discovery Health. I can say Investec, or any of these other big businesses. So this Jewish company or this Jewish entrepreneur or this Jewish family wants to start a core business. But for them to start this, they need finance. Who will they go to? Automatically, they will come here to a Jewish bank. This Jewish banker is going to make sure that he puts down, because he believes in his brother, he's his brother's keeper. He's going to put down the finance, and he's going to do everything in his power to make sure that this business thrives. This business here, whatever business it is, if it needs construction, it needs offices, it needs premises for whatever services that they provide. There is a construction company here that is Jewish-based, that is going to be used to build this core business. This business, because they are new in business, they need services. Those services are going to be referred, or they're going to be gotten from here. And when we talk about services, we're talking about tax experts, we're talking about accountants, we're talking about all those other people that needs to provide services for this business to be profitable and to be sustainable. But what brings them together? What brings these people together is all these people go to the same shul. Every Saturday, they meet at the same shul. This shul is where opportunities are shared, where opportunities are created, and this is where opportunities are financed. So this guy comes to the banker, but he doesn't know how he's going to build his building. The banker has a relationship with a construction company. This construction company, based on the trust that has been transferred to this guy here from the banker's relationship, he will come and he will give this guy his word, which is not going to break, to make sure that whatever he promises here, he delivers. This guy doesn't know anybody that does services, but the construction company has a friend, has a relative, has somebody that he knows in their circle of religiosity, or their circle of culture, their circle of tradition, that is going to refer to bring here. Now you see all these arrows are pointing upwards. But now what unites the whole business ecosystem is this charity. Each of these businesses has to give 10% of their income. Why must they give the 10%? Why can't they cheat? They can't cheat. Why? Because this charity, the money that they all put in this potty, is the one that builds Jewish schools, Jewish security, Jewish homesteads, Jewish businesses, Jewish food. What happens if this guy that was referred to this guy by the banker, if he defaults or he does not keep his word? Because this, remember, is just done by a handshake. They all know each other at the show. The whole business circle will come crumbling because all these people are going to dissociate themselves with this individual here, and he will be banned from any business transactions, and chances are he's going to be expelled from the show. Now, what we're building here is a business what? It's a business ecosystem. It's a circular business consistently, and that's why we are told that it goes between 18 and 21 hands for one rand, passing from one Jewish hands to the next before it can come to other people. I'm using the example of Jewish families here because financially they're the most prosperous families in the world. But in South African scenario, we'll use the Afrikaners. If you look at the Rupert and them, I will use Muslim families that have built this. Then why are we as black people not doing this? Why are we not successful? I will give you a couple of reasons why. The first thing here, why we cannot do what these other people are doing and what has gotten all these other people out of poverty, is number one is black people, we do not understand anything else apart from consumption. You cannot gain equality. You cannot win equality. You cannot be equal through consumption. You can only gain equality through production. As black people, we have to realize that we're only going to get our respect by producing things. We're the only race in the world that we import everything that we use. We import our food, we import our medication, we import our clothing, we import our sound systems, we import our cars, we import the planes we use, we import every single thing. And whoever you import to is the one that owns you. So it's very hard for us to expect other communities, other races to have respect for us if they can switch off our lives by just pressing a switch and we don't get spare parts and all our cars are stuck. A switch. If you look at South African scenario, we don't even own our own communication. Our communication is owned by foreign powers. So if Huawei decides to switch us off from communicating, chances are we're not going to be able to talk to each other. The second reason here is because we do not understand the importance of creating and building wealth. For you to be able to create and build wealth, creating and building wealth cannot go together with consumption. We have to learn to enjoy delayed gratification. We have to understand that as much as we have moved into the suburbs, as much as we're getting these new degrees, as much as we want to catch up with the white South Africans that are having intergenerational wealth, first and foremost, we have to understand how to create wealth. If you take somebody, I will take a very easy example of, I'll call him Jacopovitz, who is a Jewish boy that is 24. He's just come out of university and is earning 10 runs. And then I'll take Lamini, that is also 24. He's just come out of university, is earning 24 runs. Do they really earn the same amount of money? Jacopovitz, one of the first things that he's got is when he became 18, his family could afford, and they've been saving for so long, he was given his first car. So his car is fully paid for. When he became 21, his family have been planning this for so long. When he became a man, he got his own house. So the only thing that he needs to do is, this money is purely pocket money. He uses it only for petrol, and he uses it. Chances are he still lives at home because family is everything. But now when it comes to Lamini, Lamini has student loans because his family, his parents didn't plan enough, or circumstances didn't allow them to have enough wealth to plan to be able to pay fully for his education. He had to get a student loan. Now he already has a student loan. He's the only one in his family that is working. He is the firstborn. He's got 4 or 5 other brothers that need to go to school. Now, these two people cannot compare. So when Lamini wants to drive the same car that Jacopovitz drives, that is stupid thinking. You have to learn to know where you are, not how people live their lives. Before you can compare yourself with where people are, you have to ask them where they were before they got to that stage. We try to get people when they're too high without us going through the process. Their parents have gone through the process of poverty. Their parents have gone through the process of creating wealth. Their parents have gone through the process of making sure that my kids will never go through what we go through. Most of our parents haven't gone through that. So the fundamental rule here is we have to learn how to keep our money within our own race. For us, when we go buying these things, when we go to get that rent or house, chances are it doesn't belong to you, a black person or a black family. So that car doesn't belong to a black dealership, doesn't belong to a black family. That job doesn't belong to a black family, doesn't belong to a black person. That mall that you spend most of your money in doesn't belong to a black person. The shop doesn't belong to a black person. So the little money that you're getting, straight away you're taking it back and recycling it outside your own race. So which means that most of us, what makes us poor, apart from our poor thinking, is how we spend our money. We have less money coming in and more money going out. Number 3, one of the reasons why we are poor is simply because we are killing each other on a daily basis. And a good example, you'll see it in our townships. You'll see where Somali shops, Somali spaza shops, Ethiopian spaza shops, they are being killed because they're doing better business than other people, because they have more customers. But that is not the right way of thinking. This is a South African country, which means that South Africans are majority. And those areas where foreigners are dominated by South African people themselves. So what is the best way for us, for South Africans to be able to take over that economy rather than reverting to violence and death? Leaders lie to people, community leaders, civil leaders lie to people by telling them to kill whoever is doing well. But over time, it becomes a mentality where you think that the best way to deal with the competition is elimination. You have to become better than your competitor. You have to give better service. You have to give better value. You have to understand your customer more. If I'm in Soweto, I'm in Alex, a population or an environment that is purely dominated by South Africans, why can't the South African shopkeepers bring themselves together as a commune, bring themselves together as a group, and then using the power of 100 spaza shops, going and getting goods at a cheaper rate and coming and undercutting the foreign shop owners? That is the easiest way to take over your local economy rather than reverting to violence. Violence has never worked because all it does is it steals away from you thinking on how to become a better person and a better business person. Whether you like it or not, with technology, things are moving at a very quick pace. Even if you're not careful, there is somebody right now. What are you going to do about Netflix in your house? What are you going to do about Prime TV? All these things, these are competitions. We have to come up with better ways for us to be able to compete. I see there's a lot of killings when it comes to the normal taxi and the Uber taxi drivers. How are you going to kill or compete with Uber? Uber is a software. This is technology. So you end up killing your own brother. But Uber keeps on growing. Uber is not a face. Uber is a technological company in Silicon Valley in the USA. This guy that you're killing is your own brother that you know his name, you know his father, you know his grandfather, you know his wife, you know his kids. Are we going to resort to kill each other while we're not winning when it comes to that war? We have to change. We have to become more competitive. We have to know in which generation we are living in and what are the best tools for us to be able to compete. We cannot compete with technology, with violence. We can't use guns, neither can we use machetes, because all we're gonna do is when two brothers fight, the neighbor comes over and takes over the land. Number 4, our leaders. Our leaders are the worst examples of political ambassadors for our people. Our leaders steal all our money, and then they send the money back to the colonial masters from whom this same money was borrowed. So we rush to European countries, we rush to IMF, we rush to World Bank, we rush to all these institutions. We're asking for aid, and only maybe a fraction, maybe 20% of that money will get back here. And the rest never even touches the shore of our country. The rest is hidden in funny accounts, which goes back to these countries that we borrowed from. And then we loading our generation and the other generation with debt that we can never be able to pay because we never benefited from that loan in the very, very first time. When a black person becomes successful, for you to show that you're successful, you have to spend your money in the country of your former colonial master, because that's where you want to go on a holiday. That's where you want to go buy a house. That's where you want to take your schools abroad. That's where you're going for medical attention. Instead of spending this money in our own country to benefit our people, by improving the quality of our education, by improving the quality of farming so that people have food security, by investing in hospitals. And that's why I loved COVID. It reached a point where politicians, people in power, when they get sick, they had to go to the same institutions that we go to for them to realize that the best way of investing is to invest at home. We all have to have access. Africa has everything it needs. The only thing that we're lacking is our thinking is not great. Number 5 reason why most of us, of course, are struggling is we never take full responsibility for our situation. We never take responsibility for our lives. We never take responsibility for any position that we find ourselves in. It's become a compulsive habit of us either pointing fingers at somebody else or trying to climb the economic ladder in our lives by killing your own brother. Most of us do not know how to go out there and outwit, outplay, and outthink somebody else that is in business so that you become better. Most of us will become compulsive material consumption monsters, and we'll do whatever is possible, whatever needs to be done for us to bring down a fellow brother. Anybody that looks like you, for you, is dispensable. You do not carry life. So we've reached a point where our mantra has become, love things and use people, rather than use things and love people. We don't love each other at all, and we become very much disposable. It is our inability to build businesses. It is our inability to preserve wealth. It is our inability to say, I'm in the state that I'm in because of the mistakes that I've made, because of the way that I think, because of the way that I consume things that I don't produce. Statistics show very well that Africa has a lot of learned people. We have more learned people than it's ever been in the history of mankind. But our lives have never been worse than they are now. We are more poor than we've ever been. We're more sick than we've ever been. We suffer from a lot of mental health issues. Our relationships are under a lot of pressure. Economically, most of us cannot afford even to feed our own families. So much has to change. But we're the biggest wearers of Louis Vuitton. We're the biggest drivers of big expensive car. We wear the best, most expensive shoes. We live in the best, biggest houses. But you know what? When it comes to wealth, most of us do not have assets. We have to understand wealth is not what you wear on your body. Wealth follows assets until we start building assets. And the first asset that we need to build is ourselves. We need to take education seriously. We need to revamp our education. And we need to understand that our education system should be educated, should be dictated to purely by the problems that our people are going through. We shouldn't take a Western education system. So we become very well-educated servants. Most of our people are going to school with the sole intention of being employed in the multi-international corporations. The more educated we become, the more an enemy to our people we become. Because one, our people cannot serve us, cannot pay us. So we end up working for the same corporations that are killing our people. This is our turn. If we want respect, if we want to change our lives, we have to go to the Jewish business ecosystem, circular economy. This is the only way for us to change ourselves. We cannot fight ourselves into equality, neither can we force ourselves into other people's table. Let's create our own tables. If you agree with me, share it in the comment section. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel, like, and if there is anything that you want me to know, anything that you disagree with me, I'm all game. But remember, keep your comments respectable. God bless and take care of yourself.